You see, our dental ware has become radioactive, and this is really partly how I discovered this. It is now the source of our metastases in cancer. Now, you know that I've been a cancer researcher all these 15 years, and I finally came down to the ultimate cause. There are many contributing causes, and all the carcinogens are contributing causes, and even stress, no doubt, contributes. But the actual cause is a very physical entity, and you'll see it in the handout on page 12. I call it the real carcinogen, but I have changed its name because it's confusing with the term carcinogen. See, there are 1,000 carcinogens have been discovered, and they're listed in Prop 65 in the California legal system. And there is a big organization, international, called the International Agency for Research in Cancer. They decide what is a carcinogen and what is not, and what is probable and what is partly and what is suspected. It's a very big enterprise, but that isn't the real cause. The real cause is a cluster that you see drawn below. It's not a single entity, and that's the difference in concept. I was also looking for a supercarcinogen. I thought it would be one thing, but as luck would have it, it turned out that these things are all in our drinking water if you have cancer. So the cluster consists of polonium, about the most radioactive element other than plutonium. It is exceedingly dangerous and toxic, and that has already been known for decades. The polonium is attached to cerium, which comes from a group of elements called lanthanides. They are magnetic, and we are partly magnetic beings. So having a magnetic element in your body, when it isn't natural to have any of them in your body, is very significant. So you're drinking this in your drinking water if you have cancer. The cluster is polonium attached to cerium, attached to ferrocyanide. Well, what's that doing there? It's a pipe protector. You have to protect the boilers and the pipes from the water that is going through them. At least you do if you have metal pipes. Of course, I think you and I would immediately switch to plastic pipes if you knew that ferrocyanide was part of the cancer cluster. Or cancer complex is another phrase I use. And all of these have to be there for anybody to get cancer. Now we are having skyrocketing cancer statistics because all of these things are in the water, and they find each other very easily because they have chemical affinity for each other. So the ferrocyanide then attaches itself to an oil that's in all the drinking water of people who get cancer. The oil is automotive oil. The water will test positive with my technology, and you can practice with yours. The water will test positive for motor oil from in one of these, in a regular motor oil can, any brand, doesn't matter, and wheel bearing grease, any kind. So for your test substance, just go to a gas station. Get a can of motor oil and a can of wheel bearing grease. Then from our hardware, you could get 3-in-1 oil. And 2,4-D. No, not 2,4-D. What's the other? Okay. So with those oils in your water, But it's not really coming straight from the gasoline industry. I'll tell you in a bit how it really does get there. Why is the oil there in the first place? Why wasn't it turned into gasoline? Remember, we have great big refineries that do that. The oil that's pumped up from the ground is separated into all these fractions, and then finally come the fractions that are heavy, greasy, and that gets turned into motor oil and wheel bearing grease and other things. And that is the oil left by the dead dinosaurs. That's what gasoline comes from. The whole oil industry was living oil. It comes from living things. The dinosaurs left it there in big puddles as they died, and we're just pumping it up. Living things make those oils, and they are made by us living things too, and by our parasites, which are living things. Living things make these special oils that we can call onion, garlic, and mustard oil. Those are the foods we eat. All living things that have these oils are eating those kinds of foods, and when they're digesting them, the leftovers are called alkylating agents. So the parasite that I said causes cancer about 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, happens to have the onion family as its major food. And therefore, of course, it will be excreting and eliminating onion-related products. Onions and garlic belong to the lily family. It's the lily family that has those. And if you think a moment, all the little primitive animals that you call insects and more primitive things still, they have a food requirement in order to raise their young. A cabbage butterfly lands on cabbage to lay its eggs because its larvae need some elements, some compounds that are in the cabbage juices. And if there are different kinds of larvae, then usually they each need a little bit different one. But without the cabbage family, they would be extinct in just one generation because they have to have it. They will not be able to get to the next stage without having their requirement. And the parasite, and another very big family used by very many insects and other little things, is the lily family. And Phaseolopsis parasite happens to be one of those. It requires the lily family. And it has at least 5 stages, larval stages, to go through, and they require different parts of the lily family. My suggestion is not to eat the lily family. It's not human food anymore, not to our patients, not to a cancer patient. I think that those should not be considered human foods. Now, the fact that we occasionally would run into them as a wild animal is not the same thing as putting the mustard on the table as part of the table setting. See, it's a matter of how frequently you eat something, whether or not your body gets full of it. For a cancer patient, any place you test in the body will be positive for onion oil, garlic oil, and mustard oil. There is so much. There are so many parasites of Phaseolopsis variety, and they are using so much, and they are excreting so much that no matter where you test, you would find it. So it's no wonder that it can become part of the cancer complex. You would be drinking All those things you see in the diagram, that's what's in the water. But you supply the living parasite. After you drink it, this complex combines with the fasciolopsis stage. I don't know which stage it combines with. And that's the entire thing that actually gives you the cancer.